Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second week of the first split of the LCUS. I am Kenos, and joined for this game by Trufflesaurus. How you doing, Truffle?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Kenneth?
Oh, doing great. Looking forward to this first set of games we've got coming up. It's going to be White Wolf Gaming versus Take the Lantern. If you want to just take a quick look at the standings that we've got here, White Wolf Gaming managed to go 1-1 in their set in the first set last week that they had, whereas Take the Lantern unfortunately went 0-2 there, so their first sets of games were counted as a loss. Probably hoping to take that back there. What do you hope we're going to see out of Take the Lantern to try to get more of a winning formula this week?
I hope they come in with a solid game plan. I don't know what game plan they're going to go for, but I hope that they come and they have a clearly defined game plan to push an advantage or to shut a player down and close out a game.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to have that sort of winning strategy going in. Obviously, with coordinated bans, we just need to get the last few bits set up for that game, and then we will be all set to rock and roll with that. And then, of course, later on in the sets, we're going to have Northern Storm versus Campers and Brew City Brawlers versus Triple Strike. So same deal as last week. We got three sets of games coming up, and we will hopefully see as exciting games as we did last week this week.
Yeah, exactly. Another always a fun to watch, and it's a huge blast to cast. So I'm very happy to be here today.
Yeah, most definitely. And it looks like they just invited you in, so get down to the spectators and we'll get rolling. Awesome. Great.
Perfect.
Great. All right, yeah, definitely interested to see how the banning phase goes, because like you said, with a coordinated plan in mind, hopefully White Wolf doesn't shut Take the Lanterns any particular schemes down before they get ready to roll.
Yeah, exactly. It was a bit of an interesting lineup in a lineup desync between White Wolf and Team Take the Lantern. I expect a strong bot lane coming out of Team Take the Lantern, and also some heavy jungler pressure. Whereas in Team White Wolf, I also expect heavy jungler pressure, but I think it's going to be more topside focused. So it should be fun to watch how these teams react to the different priorities and where they allocate their resources.
All right, well, here we go into the champion select, so we'll see how that works out for both sides. Starting off, we got that strong Sona ban going down, which of course she's been really impactful in the entire LCUS so far, as well as Anivia, so both pretty good bans to see coming out early.
Fear the shadows.
And also both heavily targeted bans against our mid laner, the mid lane for Team White Wolf and the support for Team Take the Lantern. The target bans continue as Kayn and Yorick are both targeted against a player. Prowler 222 Yorick is a force to be reckoned with, and Minard's Kayn is also quite good.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen that Kayn do a lot of work throughout the, especially in the preseason of the LCUS, so not surprising to see him taken away. And at least, no, go ahead.
Interesting choices on these last two. Sedge, I think, is a great meta ban, even if it isn't a target ban. But the Tahm Kench is an interesting choice.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I was going to say how interestingly spread these bans are. You know, we've had a couple of series in the past couple of weeks that have been, 4 ADC bans, 3 mid lane bans, and it definitely speaks to more trying to spread around the targeted and meta picks as opposed to just trying to completely block out one player like some teams have tried to do.
Exactly, and it also speaks to the expanding champion pools of those players when they get pinched. If you're only playing 2 champions, it's really easy to ban you out, but it's absolutely not worth it if you play 5.
For sure. Unless, it's someone really scary.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
we got Faker on one of these teams. Gonna ban him out.
I think there'd be 6 bans.
All right, and, first couple of picks here. We got Caitlyn, obviously strong ADC, and Lulu Warwick for take the lantern there. So Warwick might be able to get a little bit on that back line, shut the Caitlyn down. But Syndra, of course, is another tasty target for Warwick's as well.
She has the delete button,
Yeah.
and the carries on Team Take the Lantern are gonna have to be very careful now that Syndra's on the field.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of carries they pick. If they're going to stick with someone who's a little bit shorter range, maybe, and then put themselves at greater risk for that Syndra, or if they're going to try to go someone longer range, like maybe Jin with his ultimate, or maybe someone else like that.
Yeah, exactly. A bit of a fun thing coming here out of Udge and Team Take the Lantern. He saw that Syndra had a delete button and figured that he had a better one, so he picked Vigar.
Yeah, so definitely leaning late game with that team composition for Take the Lantern. Hoping to get Vagar really big. Warwick can go off if he gets fed late enough into the game. So let's see if their other two picks and also their bans try to angle the game more toward the later stages.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting Aatrox ban. Someone must have a reason for that Aatrox ban. So I don't know exactly who that's targeted at, but Kennen ban towards gotta get lucky. I've fought against this Kennen a couple of times. It is an early game champion. It's also a very scary champion.
It's also interesting to see that a couple of these bans coming out are very heavily CC focused. You know, it's good that they've got these priorities down to try to work on avoiding the CC. Interesting pick on the Tristana. I wasn't expecting that with Syndra's delete button, but I guess Tristana does have the escape to get away from it.
Exactly, and Xayah may have been another good choice, right? But Tristana plays pretty safe and should be fine against the Syndra if Tristana positions correctly.
Alright, so it looks as though all that Take the Lantern is missing is their top lane, unless Warwick's going top. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of pick they do, especially considering I was going to say characters like Cho'Gath are still freely available.
It's interesting that Cho'Gath has been falling towards later priority in the pick and ban phase, just as across the split. That seems to be true. He's such a strong champion, and he's really good in the tanks too. And I think that Team Take the Lantern is going to have to pick a tank for the top laner, or else they won't have the front line. Oh, what happened here?
Looks like we've had a disconnect really quick here, so we'll just hop back until that gets figured out.
Let's see.
Yeah, it looks like one player just ended up disconnecting, possibly internet issues. So
Exactly.
we'll get that adjusted really quick and get back into it. Hopefully go through a nice quick pick ban phase there.
Right. Hopefully we'll get right back into the game. The player that dropped was Team Take the Lantern, so it likely was not. It likely was some sort of internet issue. That's exactly.
Yeah, or you know, some other personal issue. Of course, the way it works is, of course, with real life issues coming up. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go on a quick break, and then we will hop right back into it as soon as we get this sorted out. So please be patient, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, thank you for being patient. Um, the teams are just getting themselves figured out here. Had a quick sub come in for the player who had to drop, and we'll be ready to go. It looks as though they're going to redo the pick and ban phase, considering there's a new player on board, and a couple of the bans were targeted at the player who dropped. So it'll be interesting to see what the new team comp looks like. What are your thoughts, Shuffle? Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry for the delay there. Looks like we managed to get sorted out. One player did end up dropping, and we will have to get a sub in here. And it looks as though they are going to be redoing the pick and ban phase because several bans were targeted at the player who dropped. What are your thoughts at how that's going to turn out there, Travel?
Yeah, interesting. Definitely a bit of a wild card kicking in. This new jungler is a bit of an unknown, so we'll see how the teams react and what he's going to show us today.
Yeah, definitely, because this is someone that they're just bringing in, not on the sub list, so it'll be a relatively unknown to most of the players. So I believe it was a colleague of Tilted Snorlax's. So it'll be cool to see how that works out, and we'll just have to wait and see how the bans play out with this relatively unknown player. With the information we do have, though, about how the picks and bans are kind of working out, it'll be interesting to see if, like you said, if Cho'Gath manages to slip through again or not, because he has been kind of like a on again, off again kind of character that they're willing to either play top or ban out. And so with the stronger jungler no longer being present, maybe the top will become more of a priority for that team.
Yeah, exactly. It gotta get lucky something to fight Prowler on, or get Prowler something to smash the lane on. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And yeah, we're just getting a quick little comment here about how this is going to play out from our commissioner and other information there. But we are jumping into the champ select now, so let's get back into it.
Our second attempt at getting into a game of League, right?
Yeah, second attempt, first game. And of course, bans are starting out similarly. We'll see if
we do. Oh, sorry, same target bands coming out, but it looks like Team White Wolf has done a bit of scouting in this short downtime, and they figured out that they want to ban out the newcomer.
Yeah, it's interesting if they do know. I'm not sure if they do know who the newcomer is, or if they're just doing general bans for jungle champions they don't like now. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out, and definitely something to ask later when we get into the end game interview.
Exactly. With things like match history, I wonder if we'll have to ask. Exactly.
Yeah, and especially with that Kayn ban coming out anyway. It's like, well, let's ban Lee Sin. Wait, he plays Kayn anyway. Ban that too.
Bit of a scramble.
All right, so more or less the same. I don't. Oh, Sejuani was the ban that we aren't seeing this time. So they swapped the Sejuani ban for a Lee Sin ban.
Yep, exactly.
We'll actually see if maybe Take the Land takes advantage of that. But,
for sure, it depends on if it's in their jungler's wheelhouse.
Yeah, most definitely. Interesting that the picks are taking so long here for Take the Lantern, considering that they kind of knew what they were playing before, but I guess they're mixing it up due to what their new jungler is going to be playing.
Yeah, it throws a big wrench in the works. Team White Wolf has to adjust their bans, but their comp may or may not stay the same. Team Take the Lantern has to completely reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, well, there's that Sejuani, so we'll see if them letting it float was a good idea or not. Obviously, she's got a lot of really good CC in her kit, and Nami as well has got that really good AoE CC. So
replace the Lulu with a Nami. Syndra gets picked again. This helps solve their frontline tank problem. So if they're going to go for that team fight oriented comp, they may not have to put such a heavy tank in the top lane now.
Yeah, it certainly frees up what their top lane will be, or at least their options for it, like you said, because they aren't missing any sort of meat on their front line now with Sejuani there. And so we'll have to see if they're, following the same kind of idea that White Wolf is picking, 100% the same champions so far. Perhaps they will ban out the Cho'Gath here just to try to avoid whatever they were going for originally.
A woman's left unsatisfied.
Yep. Evelyn ban's the same. Malzahar ban. This is still the same. The only difference in the ban so far has been that Sejuani.
Yeah, we'll see what Take the Lantern's plan here is for the last ban.
Interesting that I missed this the first time around, but interesting that Team White Wolf is still throwing out a Malzahar ban even though Viger's on the field. I wonder if they think it's going to be a support.
Hesitation is death.
Yeah, they probably do want to avoid just that heavy CC. This is the second time they've done that too, so maybe they're just, trying to avoid any sort of trickery. But the Aatrox does get banned as well, so the exact same bans coming out of Take the Lantern. So if we'll see the Kennen ban, no, we don't. We see the Tristana ban instead.
Ban the that was the ADC that got picked here for Team Take the Lantern. So
it seems as though the based on some of the team history I'm looking at here, it looks as though Gotta Get Lucky has been spamming Malzahar top before. So it looks as though they're trying to protect top lane from any sort of shenanigans.
Malzahar top lane is something I've never seen before. That's very interesting.
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like White Wolf wants us to see it.
Yeah.
So,
Come on, Team White Wolf. Where's the fun in that?
right, give the people a show, man. Come on. All right.
Lucian does get locked in here, so a bit more of a mid game as opposed to late game hyper carry, but
Also has a
ADC
little more on the range side with his ultimate, so able to be maybe a little bit safer against the delete button, but we'll have to see.
yeah, exactly, and he has that mobility to reposition if he needs to. So not a bad choice coming out of Team Take.
All right, so all we're left to see is supposedly what the jungle is coming out of White Wolf here. And it looks like we got another Void character with Rek'Sai. So still letting the Cho'Gath through.
Exactly, strong comp coming out of Team White Wolf. The Rek'Sai is meant to do to apply early pressure in conjunction with Syndra and possibly Caitlyn, but they're looking to peak at about mid game. Team White Wolf is, whereas Team Take the Lantern locks in a Kennen, so they do not go with the tank top laner.
Yeah, I mean they did let that Kennen through after deciding to ban the Tristana out. So now we'll see if again it's a question of if the changed bans are going to seriously impact the game in any way. Because we know that they were originally concerned about the Kennen and the Sejuani, and now they've changed their minds and have let the Kennen and the Sejuani through. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how that works out for them.
Yeah, and if it works out any better than the other comp would have.
Yeah, most
really interesting.
Definitely.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say there's just a lot of CC on both sides, which I always like to see. A lot of stuns coming out of Take the Lantern, especially, but just plenty of good overall ability to lock down characters on both teams.
Yeah, I think there's only one person that doesn't come with a form of CC in the whole game. That's incredible.
Yeah, so it's going to mean that both team fights and any sort of pickoffs are going to be very impactful. Because, you catch somebody out, if there's at least two players there, you're probably going to lock them down and get a kill. Unless, of course, it's someone, incredibly beefy like Sejuani or Cho'Gath. So it's going to be really interesting to see who is able to pull this out.
Yeah, both teams are set up for strong team fighting potential. I think the engage I'm going to favor slightly Team White Wolf, but I think Team Take the Lantern's got a better split push and a better disengage. So it really just does come down to execution, and it should be a blast to watch.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's always coming down to execution, right? We've seen that falter for some of the teams early on in this particular split, with teams, being a little bit more out of position, while the team that moves as a pack tends to be the one that ends up succeeding. And especially when it just comes to the early game, because we've had so many of these games work out the way where one team gets in the lead and looks like they're going to seize all of the momentum and carry it on, and then one or two people get picked off due to aggressive laning or aggressive warding, and then it swings back the other team's way.
Yeah, exactly. It's really hard to secure objectives sometimes. You know, an outer turret, okay, that's not so. You know, a dragon, okay, a couple people are down. But when you start like trying to crack the base, that's actually a very difficult task against a coordinated team, and that's we've been seeing a lot of that, right? So it will likely come down to a big team fight at the end.
I am also especially interested to see how the any sort of swings that may happen in the course of this game. If it ends up being close, the fact that every character, or most every character, has some form of game-changing CC means that we could get some really crazy plays where, like, if the Syndra is incredibly fed and ends up being the cornerstone of the entire team for White Wolf, if Take the Lantern manages to take her down by just stacking a couple of stuns, then suddenly the game could swing the other direction.
Exactly. And then the foot's on the other, the shoe's on the other foot, and then can the other team also have a game changing initiation or a stun? And
Right.
yeah, it's my favorite kind of game to watch.
Yeah, most definitely. It'll be great to see what kind of initiations these team can pull out. I mean, Sejuani, of course, can just rock the initiation. Nami's ultimate as well. But we'll have to see as we move into our first game, White Wolf versus Take the Lantern.
I think one of the fun things to watch in this game is going to be which team can build the bigger delete button, whether it's the Centaur or the Vigar.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how the jungles play into this, if they're able to help put enough pressure on that one or the other manages to get that delete button working faster.
Exactly, and then protect their delete button. But you know that's protecting carries, right? That's
Right. That's League 101. You got to do that. And if you can't do that, then you should hurry up and find a comp who can handle that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so just waiting for everybody to leap in here.
There we go. Some quality emotes coming out of Team White Wolf.
Well, that's what we're all about, right? Is all these quality emotes.
Yeah, you know, we didn't really touch on the skins, but we always make our skin analysis. I think we need to start making.
I think I'm more of a fan, honestly, of White Wolf's skins this time. Just taking a quick, especially because Lucian doesn't have a skin, and he's got a lot of quality skins, in my opinion. So the no skin on Lucian is just, rather disappointing.
Yeah, right. But not everyone can have a skin for every champion.
Of course, we wouldn't hold everyone to that same standard. But also that Veigar skin, I'm not the biggest fan of that one either. There's a lot of really good Veigar skins.
Yeah, Final Boss is the one that I own.
All right, so everyone's being just rather passive and show-offy here in this first bit, lining up all LCS-like.
Yep, definitely point defense from both teams coming out. Both junglers want to start on their bot side for the better leash, and we'll be making their way towards the top side jungle, where we might see some action in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it works out and who ends up getting greedy first, because obviously a lot can change really quickly when it comes to how these sorts of things plan out in the first few minutes. Yeah, just standard kind of jungle. We got the red buff here on the bot, blue buff here on the top. A little bit of back and forth in the top lane. Mid lane seems okay with farming, probably because both want to get their delete buttons, as we've said, working as fast as possible.
Yeah, exactly. There will be some pressure on the Syndra on this one, though. Vigar is more than happy to stack indefinitely, so Syndra's going to eventually fall behind. So.
Yep. A little bit of poking going on between the supports down here in the bot lane, with Nami's range definitely trumping out against the melee only of Leona.
Yeah, it's always a little bit rough, but you got to watch those level 2 initiations by Leona. So that should be happening here in a moment. Looks like level 2 is reached by Team Take the Lantern first.
Yeah, Leona's got a couple more kills to go, so she may get forced back before she's able to push forward with that. nice little bit of early aggression there, poking by the take the lantern.
Ooh, a heavy trade up in top lane as well.
Yeah.
Gotta get lucky. Got is a little bit low, which is rough because Cho'Gath's regen is gonna help him out anyways.
Yeah, landing a lot of good knockups there by the Cho. And Rek'Sai was terrifying me there for a second with the low health, but managed to gain some of that back from Smite.
Yeah, I don't want that executed. Or don't want that executed on TV, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, nice little back and forths going on in all the lanes. No one quite seems to have the advantage yet, but like you said, we're looking for that sudden power spike that characters like Leona can bring to the table. It's possible she's waiting for level 3, or maybe they're just thinking they'll play a little bit more passively and wait for their jungler.
It's likely going to be that. You don't want to be too aggressive into a bigger minion wave. Heavy trade coming in.
Yeah, good stun there, but the bubble lands back. I mean, the thing about jumping in against a Nami is that Nami's got not only heal, but also a knockup of her own. So you go in on that, you're probably getting bubbled, and when that happens, depending on what the Lucian wants to do, you could be in a lot of trouble, but fortunately they both managed to get out relatively healthy.
Yeah, definitely lost the trade though.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely losing the trade overall so far. Caitlyn trying to be a little bit cheeky with some of those trap placements, but Lucian somehow manages to not step on them.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be a bad day for him if he did. Tilted Snorlax is also trading like a mad person. Leona dives in.
Yep, they only dived in. It looks as though they're trying to commit to it, but Caitlyn's in a lot of trouble. Burn flash there for the Nami. Good stun by the Leona. They might be able to get it. Good flashes for it. First blood. Almost second blood also.
Yeah. Pretty much no summoners left in bot lane. The one exception being Maya's Leona's flash, but that was super close for a lot of characters there.
Yeah, that was a really good bit of coordination there between the Leona and the Caitlyn. The Caitlyn also with no mana anymore as well. So it was really close on both sides, and great job there by White Wolf to secure that kill.
And in the end, it was the trap that did it, so those cheeky trap placements definitely came in.
Yeah, definitely. Top lanes get a little bit of excitement too. Cho'Gath flashes for it, but doesn't manage to get the RAR off because Get Lucky flashes as well.
Flash for flash, lots of heavy trading. This might be a little bit rough without some jungler intervention, which, speaking of the devil.
Yeah, Sejuani's trying, but without any help from Kennen, I don't think that she's going to be able to get much done. Kennen may teleport in here to try to make something happen. It looks like they're calling for it. Yep, they are teleporting in, so we'll see how this gank goes. Sejuani misses on her attempt to CC there, gets knocked up, and it looks as though, yeah, Cho's going to get out of there. He'll be fine.
Really hard to make that one work, especially when you get spotted out early. So, unfortunately, that was just the best it could be.
Yeah, I mean, especially with how high Cho's health is and how little damage Sejuani does at this point. Granted, Cho does have very low mana, so it could have worked out very well. Rek'Sai, meanwhile, oof, rough
Oh no.
life. You hate to see it. You absolutely hate to see it.
Yeah, that's a rough day.
But that's, you know, that's what playing on the razor's edge there gets you.
Only the best, right? You have to dream.
Yeah, got to dream big. You know, got to go for the big plays. And you know, if he'd made it work again, we would have been saying, "Oh man, he's just cutting it really close, but doing a great job." And fortunately, it didn't work out that time. Yep. So we'll have to see. Still some poking going on here. Veigar left to. Veigar's I believe, the only character who hasn't gone back yet, either through death or otherwise. So he's getting a lot of that farm going on. He's got 31 stacks so far.
He's definitely getting along. He's looking to reach that 50 stack mark where his W starts to have a reduced.
Yep, Cho's getting a lot of damage off on poor little Kennen, especially with that slow too. But stun, I think, will get away. No, another knockup. This could be it. Ultimate is blown and Cho is forced to fall back, but very close call.
Yeah, I missed it at the beginning, but I think that Cho'Gath may have let off with his ult, or at least that's why I gotta get lucky he's so low. But if he had his ult, that would have been a secured solo kill there.
Yeah, the boots are definitely playing a big thing for Cho'Gath as well, able to chase up on that. Looks like Sejuani's going to come in from behind here. Lucian goes forward rather aggressively. Flash is blown to get that push up, but then the flash that Leona still had in reserve is utilized, and they manage to get back.
Looks like there's a 3-man gank at top lane. Syndra throws the Q, the stun misses it, damage comes out. Gotta get lucky, gets secured. Excellent rotation out of Team White Wolf.
Yeah, really good job seeing that there wasn't a jungle presence there and able to lock that down. And definitely Rek'Sai making up for the embarrassing moment there getting killed in the jungle.
Yeah, no one's talking about that anymore, right?
Right. No one. No one will ever talk about that again except the next time I bring it up. Alright, we got Veigar's at 37 stacks now. Sejuani is creeping through the blue jungle doing some ward placing and clearing.
It's spotted out, but is looking for this gank.
Yeah, getting spotted out again. I'm not sure she wants to commit to this, though. They're really close to tower, and yeah, just gets a little bit of chip damage on there, and not much else. Though the Veigar is here, too. Looks like... Nope. This is going to get really interesting really quickly here. Let's see what happens. Veigar flashes out just for that extra little bit of safety and manages to get away. If that flash hadn't been blown, that could have been really bad for the Veigar.
Yeah, once that stun landed, he needed to get out of there, so wise choice.
Yep, gets a little bit of healing there off the river, and probably will head back to lane after having gone back and bought some early items there with the Lost Chapter and Null Magic Mantle.
Yep, worth noting that it is an Infernal Drake on the field, so if there's ever a drake in a fight over early, it's Infernal Drake, so you should keep an eye on that, see which team.
Yeah, definitely, especially with, again, those big cannon, the big death cannons we're talking so much about. A lot of good stuns going down bot lane, but I don't know if they'll be able to secure this kill. Good flash there by the Nami just to make sure she gets out of there without giving up another kill to White Wolf.
Yeah, exactly. This has been a really close game with just a fraction of a second one side or the other determining if you live or if someone lives or someone dies.
Yeah, Take the Lantern especially has been really really getting away by the skin of their teeth on a couple engagements with that Kennen earlier, with this Nami a couple of times there. So they both I think that A, that shows luck, but B, that also shows knowing how much your champion can take and how much you can handle before you need to get out.
Right, it's would you rather be lucky or good, or how about both? Right.
Right. A little bit of a hit there going on in mid lane, nothing too major. Both mid laners just keeping each other honest.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of poke on either side is enough to get yourself killed in mid lane. So. Yeah,
definitely, especially in a couple of minutes once the casters down there really, or I suppose the mages really get going. We're casters. You can't call them casters too. More engagements going on. This might be it, and they do manage to take out the Nami finally after a lot of will they, won't theys.
Yeah, a lot of engages.
Oh, but we ended up getting distracted, and Kennen, who was incredibly low, and I'm surprised hadn't gone back, and just to get taken out there by the Cho, who is currently sitting at 4 stacks of Feast. And with 2 characters down, they're rotating over to that dragon.
Looks like no vision is on this, so Team Take Lantern wouldn't know, so I think this is getting contested.
Yep, White Wolf's probably going to secure this relatively easily, shouldn't be any surprises there. And that extra damage buff is really going to help them move forward, especially considering they're up 4-0.
Exactly, took the thunder from me. I was just thinking that that's 8% more of a 4K gold lead. That's a rough spot to be in for Team Take Lantern.
Yeah, definitely, but we'll see how they can come back to it. It is, of course, still early. And until Veigar or Syndra really start going off, who's to say who's actually going to swing this game around? Veigar sitting at 58 stacks now. So he's very slowly becoming the big bad boss man we all know he is.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see.
But yeah, just might be a little bit of a gank here over here on the Kennen. Burns the flash to try to get out, and is quickly trying to escape. Collapsing on the Syndra as well, managed to pick her off, but Kennen goes down too. So sort of a 1-for-1 there. Mutual ganks going on. And Caitlyn's pushed all the way back to turret because Leona isn't there to help her, but Leona's coming back now.
I would almost argue that that when in favor of Team Take the Lantern, with the exception of the fact that the Rift Herald's being taken on the back of this by Team White Wolf. But now that there's a clear advantage in the mid lane, all Team Take the Lantern has a win condition now, which is to empower that Fire to help them come back in this game.
Yeah, definitely. The Veigar being able to secure a kill there and just get further ahead. We see he's about 11 CS ahead of Syndra already, but not to mention his stacks are now at 72. So he's definitely getting his presence felt in the lanes. CS leads otherwise about 20 apiece, depending where you're looking, 10 or 20. So it's more or less even. Veigar coming down here for a gank, though. It is going to get spotted out relatively easily. And they should be able to get away, though. Veigar is getting a little bit of speed there. Should be able to get the stun off on the Leona. Hits the Caitlyn as well, but they both managed to get out relatively unharmed.
He's just coming down to a sort of little bit of dominance.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it's good to spread that around, especially considering that he has been doing relatively well in the mid lane. Top lane's still getting a lot of pressure, though. I would like to see a couple more ganks coming out up there just to get some pressure off Cannon's back, because, I mean, he's taking a lot of damage from those knockups from Cho.
Yeah, the Leandri's first build out of this Cho'Gath is a bit of an interesting choice, but that's where that damage is coming from. And, it's hard to know to play against it. Ooh, great play out of Kennen. Stunned Prowler while he was casting the Rift Herald. So the Rift Herald just got canceled and it doesn't get refunded. So that's a great play out of Gotta Get Lucky.
Well, that really does then turn the advantage back around to take the Lantern just in terms of momentum. Because not only have they lost that advantage in the Rift Herald.
Brawl and bot lane.
Yep, Brawl and bot lane. Good ult, but it looks like the Nami still end up going to have going down. Great stun there by the Leona, and manages to take out the Nami again. 4 people bot lane now. They're probably pushing pretty hard for this turret. We'll see if Lantern can respond at all.
Great collapse coming out. Unfortunately, our Team Take the Lantern bot lane was just a little bit too far forward and couldn't make it back to the turret safely.
Yeah, it's always rough when those big swings come down, especially with the ward coverage they have. I mean, obviously they have good ward coverage if you see one character incoming trying to get behind you, but when multiples come down, those wards in that position don't always give you enough time to react.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when they're more than happy to dive under turret. Not that I think that they had to. 2 turrets go down for Team White Wolf, so they've grown their gold lead to about 5,000.
Yep, Cho's sitting there now with 6 stacks. Veigar's stacks are at 89, so definitely slowly crawling up there. Looks like the next dragon's going to come up in about 2 minutes. Another Infernal. So...
bunch of poke damage coming out of mid. Veigar is not going to give up this turret easily.
Yeah, we'll have to see how badly they want. I mean, obviously the turret is at reasonably low health, so one good push should be able to clear it out. But Veigar is there all alone, so if they want to hit him, they probably could.
Circling back to the point that you were making when that poke damage was going out, second Infernal Drake right off the bat, this is a great opportunity for Team Take the Lantern to get back into the game, but also a great opportunity for Team White Wolf to close that door even faster.
Yeah, most definitely, and a lot of movement been going around the mid lane here, but Sejuani gets spotted out pretty quickly, so just dropping a ward and run back.
So Kinos, when you're behind, what do you do to try to get back in the game? Are you a fan of the farm it out and hope that the enemy team makes a mistake kind of approach, or do you prefer to double down and go double kill?
I'd prefer to pick off that Caitlyn like they just tried to do, but you can't have everything. Well, maybe they still can. It looks like there's going to be a bit of a fight going on here. Veigar gets hit by a couple of things, but manages to get out of there. Caitlyn does end up getting taken down. Hopefully they can maybe get down this Leona too. Should be able to. Good stun there. Looks like they're securing that kill as well. Syndra is also pretty low, so she should probably look into falling back. Cho might be rotating in though. So we'll have to see where that goes. Kennen does have teleport up, it's worth noting. Veigar, excellent flash to avoid that Rek'Sai locking him down. And we have a 4v3 going on in the mid lane. Great job there, and they should get the Rek'Sai too. Really great swing here by Take the Lantern.
That is exactly how you get back in the game. Team Take the Lantern's made some great steps to to get themselves back in this game, and by the looks of it, they're considering going for that Infernal Drake.
Yeah, I'm glad they listened to my advice about getting that Caitlyn. You know, it was good.
Exactly. You,
Right.
you said kill the Caitlyn, they killed the Caitlyn. It's
Right,
perfect.
here we are, you know, now they're only 3k down. Might be able to get this dragon, though Cho's coming in to try to contest, so we'll see how that goes. Really high damage. Oh! Manages to steal the dragon. And should be able to get this Sejuani as well. Nope, looks like they're not committing to it because they are technically still down. But now the Kate comes in and probably should start thinking about falling back. Lucio is getting really low. Oh! Take it down with a good crit, and just like that, White Wolf reminds us why they were in the lead.
Exactly. It was still a 4K gold lead. That's hard to win a team fight against. I was gonna tell Arcane Soda that I was sorry for calling out the Caitlyn death, but never mind. She did, apparently Caitlyn doesn't mind all that much. So.
Well, after getting a couple of kills there, I wouldn't mind that much either. Caitlyn now sitting at 4-1-1. So
Exactly.
a lot of the farm is going to that ADC to lock it down. Despite how strong Veigar has been doing in the mid lane, it doesn't really help when Caitlyn across the map shoots you between the eyes.
Right, exactly. Especially a 4-1 Caitlyn, who has been developing quite a lead and building lots of damage.
Yep, Veigar now at 131 stacks, whereas Cho'Gath is at 9. A lot of rotations coming up here. Looks like they may want the Cho, but there's getting a lot of help coming up here. We'll have to see how this works out for him. Veigar wisely targeting the Rek'Sai first because he's the weakest, but they get both of them.
And Veigar's the one to get the delete button off. I don't know that we've seen much coming out of Synthra's ult.
Looks like they're trying to chase for more. Kennen pushing really far forward, has to flash to get out of there. Forgetting that they're still up against a 4-1 Caitlyn who can kill anyone squishy enough to chase the team. A lot of good stuns coming out here. Looks like Take the Lantern may end up losing a couple of people for this push. Veigar in a lot of trouble. Lucian's ult manages to lock it down, flashes out to get out of there. Kennen might try to come back in, but probably should fall back. Probably should fall back. Lucian a little too far forward there as well. Looks like they're going to get the Leona, but at what cost? Lucian getting really aggressive there.
And Team Take the Lantern is clawing their way back into this game. I was about ready to write this one off as a quick game, but Team Take the Lantern had a different plan.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how their next couple of team fights go. They're showing they're definitely willing to take some risks with their squishier characters to get some of that damage out, and hopefully it works out for them. With the delete button possibilities from Syndra and a relatively fed Caitlyn now at 5-1, that may be a risk that comes back to bite them later. But we'll have to see how it works out, depending what the next step is. Because they are still down 3 towers. The 4K gold lead is still very much there, and they haven't really done much when it comes to the other towers and the team. Top lane is the most likely to go down. It's still got a quarter health left.
Looks like they're still in a little bit of the jungle away. Interesting, or solid choice to help keep the income low.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Cho's being a little aggressive here. Rek'Sai is just kind of lurking around, hoping that somebody will fall into their little trap. And Sej, I think, just seems a little bit too clever for that for him. Kennen might be in a lot of trouble here. We'll see if the Rek'Sai manages to get him.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, there's a fight going on by as well, but we're going to see first about this Kennen.
Kennen gets devoured.
Yeah, and they do finally manage to lock down the Caitlyn, get another kill off on her as well. So definitely nice to see the work going on here. Syndra manages to burn that cleanse to get out of one of those stuns. Huge AoE fights going down here. Kind of what we said beginning about just a bunch of the CC coming in. Lucian trying to cover their retreat, but poor Veigar's low health pool finally catches up to him and Syndra secures the kill.
And we finally get to see the battle of the delete buttons, like I was hoping at the start of the battle. Great 2 or 3 person stun coming out of Leona's ult, so that was a great initiation for that fight.
Yeah, it has to be said. We've been seeing a lot of really good multi-team stun ults coming out of supports in these last couple of games. I mean, Sona's been getting them all throughout the LCUS past couple of weeks, and now we see the Leona doing the same thing.
And Nami too. Both supports have had some great initiations in this episode.
Well, we'll have to see where White Wolf decides to make the game go from here. Obviously, take the lantern. Well, Sejuani's in a lot of trouble, but I'll finish my thought once that's done. Good stun there by the Veigar. Might have been able to get the Syndra with a little more vision. Might still anyway. Excellent job. Kennen comes in and gets almost a full team ultimate. And another, like I said, we're stacking stuns here, and they just wiped the whole team.
That was a great flank coming out of Gotta Get Lucky. Sped in, ulted, Zonia'd, bought enough time, locked the enemy team in place, and now it looks like a Baron's coming out of this.
I'm not sure I agree with this Baron being able to work. I mean, obviously Veigar's got the delete button, but we got 3 very squishy characters here.
Nami's bringing some heals, but I'm not sure if they can pull it off.
Yeah, I think they'd be better off just falling back unless the Sejuani has a teleport we don't know about.
She's coming, though.
Oh, they're really pushing it here. They're really pushing their luck. Yep. Yep.
Oh, no.
There it is. 2 executes now, 1 for each team.
Yeah, exactly. 5k gold lead. Team take the lanterns, or 5k gold deficit. Team take the lanterns, got that no problem. 1 Baron raid boss, not so much.
Yeah, really. It'll be interesting to see how that impacts them. I think going for Dragon might have been a little bit better, but they probably just were so hype on their team fight win that they just figured they could go for gold and hope for the best. But
speaking of Dragon, that's unfortunately unfortunately for Team Take the Lantern, that's the 3rd Infernal going out too.
Yeah, 3 Infernals on a team like this is going to be really hard to come back from. But like we said before, all of the CC that happens in this game, Infernal Drakes may not actually mean anything. Because if you can just lock down the hyper carries enough, it doesn't matter how much damage they do.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't help that with 3 Infernal Drakes, all you have to do is look at the hyper carries and they get blown up. But,
yeah, definitely have to see how that goes.
Huge fight coming out in bot lane.
Yeah, really good ult there by the Nami, knocking a lot of them up, but that damage is really starting to show, and Take the Lantern has to get pushed back. Sejuani is behind, though. Really good Kennen ult. Locks down several characters once again, but manages to get taken out. The chase is on, though. Veigar is coming around the side, maybe able to get a good ult off. Trap, a beautiful trap there by the Caitlyn, saves them from that. Nami's trying to push forward, but I think they're both going to manage to get away. Rek'Sai maybe not, though. He's getting a little greedy there, trying to heal up. Didn't think they'd chase. Waiting to see if the Nami's going to land a good orb here, but the good slowdown for the Sejuani. Anyway, oh, 16 hit points. Doesn't manage to get out of there. Almost. Almost. Little too much greed there from the Rek'Sai, and we're almost back to equal now in terms of the gold lead, and Take the Lantern's going to get their 2nd turret.
Yeah, it shaped up to be a great game. Team Take the Lantern, making a great play. That team fight, that last team fight started at bot lane inhibitor and ended up in mid lane outer turret. That was a huge team fight.
Yeah, definitely. And really good maneuvering there by both the Ken and the Sejuani to get behind the fight to try to do like a pincer attack. Especially considering how poorly the fight seemed to be going earlier. Some teams may have just tried to loop around and support their team from the front, but the backside to take out that squishy back lane of Syndra and Caitlyn is really what they wanted to do, and they executed it very well.
Baron's getting started up by Team White Wolf. Certainly going to help them attempt to develop another gold lead, but it's a perfectly even game before this Baron goes down.
Yeah, we'll have to see if someone's able to take it out. Nope. Cho manages to once again secure another large monster on the board after taking out basically most of them this game. Managed to steal that dragon, get the Baron. But we'll have to see how this Baron buff works out for him.
Exactly. Team White Wolf has taken every neutral objective in this game. We've got Rift Herald, Baron, and all 3 Drakes. Part of that is coming out of the Cho'Gath ult, which is a great tool for helping secure. But all in all, great neutral objective control coming out of Team White Wolf.
Yeah, speaking of the Cho'Gath ult, he's now at 12 stacks. Meanwhile, Veigar is at 240. So Veigar is definitely getting big. You know, just look at his ability power, it's almost at 600. And if we check out the items, he doesn't even have, like, super end game items yet. So he's going to get really big.
Yeah, I think that he's going to go for Rabadon's next, and that should be a huge spike. That should bring him from 600-ish to 800-ish just in a single item. So that's going to be a huge change.
Well, we'll have to see how this next push works out for them, especially assisted by the Baron buff. Reasonable stun there on the Cho, but with the amount of health that he has, he just walks it off.
Actually ends up costing the Sejuani ult, which Glacial Prison, which might actually be a bit of a win for Team White.
Yeah, we'll have to see who gets into the right position first. Rek'Sai's being really sneaky, hanging out on the side there, probably hoping to tunnel in during a fight. Lucian dashes forward somewhat unexpectedly, but manages to survive, at least for now. Rek'Sai jumps on him, though, and takes him out pretty quickly. Sejuani's going in hard against the Leona. Kennen gets taken out as well, trying to get a little bit more of that team AoE in, but doesn't manage to work it out. Very quickly, we're at a 5v3, though Leona's probably going to head back home.
Right. You know, and I spent so long talking about Vygar's delete button and Sejuani's delete button. I totally forgot to mention that Cho'Gath brought his own delete button to this game, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have to see. We're definitely losing one inhibitor here. It probably shouldn't be the game, though. It looks as though White Wolf is more than happy to just take the turret up here. Baron buff doing a lot of work for him.
Exactly. It was a perfectly even game at the start of this. Now with this turret down, it looks like a 4K gold lead. And,
almost a knock-up there on that Veigar. That would have been devastating, but the pixels were with Veigar that time. Sejuani's trying to do something clever, but doesn't manage to work out and gets taken out from the back line.
The thing about clever plays is they're oftentimes borderline crazy, and sometimes that doesn't work out for you.
Yeah, both carries over there for White Wolf. Very low, though. If Veigar can get a good angle on him, he might be able to take it out. Really good ults coming out of the team, though. Oh, there's that swing again we were talking about. And with Rek'Sai going down, that's another team wipe for Take the Lantern.
That was an insane wombo combo. The Nami kept him in place just long enough for the Kennen ult to come in and keep them in place, and then all that was under a turret. That was a great fight and great initiation while outnumbered from team.
Yeah, and you know, once again, it comes down to CC. It comes down to the fact that you can be down against a relatively well-fed team, you know, down 2K, 4K gold, but 3 Infernal Drakes, but you manage to lock down one thing, one character, or the whole team, you know, depending on how good the ults are, and you can swing things back around with all the CC we got coming out of these characters.
Exactly, and even more so under a turret.
Yeah, so now we have the first Drake there for Take the Lantern. It is a Cloud Drake, which will make their flanking a little bit easier, so it'll be exciting to see what Kennen and Sejuani do with that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Most of the team fights that have gone for Team Take the Lantern have come out of a fantastic engage out of Gotta Get Lucky's Kennen. So that Cloud Drake is just going to make that even that much more potent.
And for those that are still keeping track at home, you'll remember that the Kennen was originally banned out in the first game, but after the jungle switch, they chose not to ban the Kennen, so we'll see if they end up regretting that by the time this game is over. And may I remind you, this is also only game 1. They've got a rematch coming up after this.
And this game is certainly coming out to be on the longer side. And then, oh, there's a team fight going on in the jungle here.
Yeah, Syndra was standing right on top of a ward, but manages to get out of there before anything horrible happens to her. Leona gets caught again, a huge barrage of CC, but manages to survive. Kennen just gets deleted. Sejuani looks like she'll be going the same way as well. Snipe goes off. Lucian manages to get out of there and get a little bit of a heal off, so once again we're in a 3v5 situation under turret there for Take the Lantern.
And this time the turret's almost dead.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. Good use of the stuns to get some separation there from the Veigar, but that's a second inhibitor down now. Baron buff has been deleted, of course, because of the team kills earlier, but they don't seem to need the buff with this high damage. Relatively good stun there coming out of the Vagar, though. Too far forward and gets silenced by the Cho. That was a really good play there by the Cho to see Vagar moving into position to silence him. And with just one character left, it looks as though White Wolf's going to be able to secure this. It would take a Miracle Cannon ult to lock this down, and he almost gets it, but too late. Absolutely incredible first game. Great job by both teams.
Exactly. I could not be more hyped to get into the next game. Team Take the Lantern had some great plays. Managed to come back from a gold deficit, but Team White Wolf was able to close it out. Excellent game. I'm super hyped to get into the next.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll be jumping into the next game in just a few moments, so please stay tuned.